Hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. And to make up for the fact that I am horrible at self promotion and to give you guys an insight into some of the work that I've done, I thought we would take this week to delve into not only some of the tabletop role playing products that have credit my name and the people I've worked with, but also to answer some questions about game design, and as an indie publisher as small as I am, to maybe give some insight into the rest of you, or for the rest of you, I apologize, to getting into self-publishing, indie publishing, behind the scenes. This is just going to be an open book for me in terms of what I've done and what I am doing and plan on doing in the future. So all of that mixed together, and I thought while we have a little discussion about that I would show off some of the projects that I've worked with. And today we're going to talk about yes, Call of Cthulhu meets movies, the cinema, plus myself. So guys, let's get the intro out the way and head on back into this channel and this very first one, Highway of Blood. So guys, hold on for just a second. Again, welcome back, guys. I am DBJ, Davae Breon Jaxon, listed below, Call of Cthulhu, the whole 9 yards. So, while I guess you could say I made a name for myself with Dungeons and Dragons in 5th edition, I am a polygamist. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Matter of fact, I might even throw that up here if you don't mind. You know what? I will promise you that I will embarrass you at least by the end of the show. So, and I will show off the PDFs of these, because paging through these I realize that is very difficult, and I've got a camera that I can't control the automatic zoom. So we'll get into that. But Call of Cthulhu in general, and by the way, don't hesitate to ask me about more background issues when it comes to publishing and tabletop gaming. Thank you there, Drew. I really appreciate that. You know what, and that, part of me is like part of me when it comes to that, Drew, is that we tend to be influenced by many people, and it almost feels like a disservice sometimes, because you want to list everyone that has influenced you, and sometimes it's a little difficult on how to do that. You might even forget a name, but you know what I mean, like you were influenced by someone years ago and a few weeks ago and things like that. So I'm with you there, Drew. I really appreciate it. You don't have to, but whatever. I really do appreciate that. But the creative process behind these releases for Call of Cthulhu, really proud of. I didn't design this, by the way. I'm not the artistic layout person for this. That's Alex. I work with Alex and Rob for Critical Hit Publishing, and despite the fact that I haven't done anything recent with them, because Alex is by profession, he does layout and artistic direction for these products, as well as other things. So he's the artist in layout, but he will take direction from anyone that either hires him, or if we're collabing together and whatnot. And the idea behind this was that we were having some discussions, and he's a huge proponent of Call of Cthulhu, and Cthulhu is most often related to Massachusetts, Boston, Miskatonic University, and investigating the darkness of 1910s to 1940s ish time period, about investigating dark eras. But the thing is that in our modern context, different decades have had many influences on us, especially when it comes to horror and slasher movies. And right now, we can even think of different categories of the horror genre itself. There's thrillers and mysteries and slasher flicks and psychological horror. And then there's like more spiritual arcane horror. And then there's like cultists and things like, I mean, I bet you can, I don't know them off the top of my head, but there are even tropes related to the horror genre itself. And we were thinking, well, why wouldn't we just do this? Why couldn't something be designed with a particular era in mind? And with movie tropes, if Call of Cthulhu is about horror, why not literally embrace the tropes that exist within this genre? So I have here the physical products, and I'm going to show you the digital ones in just a moment. But Highway of Blood, as it says on the top, the road to hell is paved in blood, with a 1970s muscle car, right? And on the cover, and it even says a 1970s scenario for Call of Cthulhu. This is specifically 1970s with, as suggested in the book, a soundtrack of 1970s songs. And this particular adventure involves not necessarily investigators, although you can incorporate, historians and private eyes and things like that. It actually works better by playing characters that are basically have taken a muscle car, driving across West Texas, and get caught up after being low on fuel, stopping in a roadside gas station in a small, one traffic light town, and then all literally and figuratively hell breaks loose, and including the fact that there's even like a rated R restricted tag on the cover of it. And most of these have an adult only mature content. Please don't play this game because it alludes to things like grisly images, violence, maybe even some mild nudity and sexual content, and it even includes those. So Highway of Blood is basically a way to embrace the 1970s era and that time period, and adding horror into it. yeah. Drug use is yeah. In real horror, the drugs and the characters took along the way. Yes, absolutely. This is absolutely that. I mean, there's lots. Plus, listen, when it comes to art direction and designing tabletop role-playing games, art is very difficult to get. But if you are able to embrace a more modern context, you can get lots of royalty-free art out there, and photography and things of that nature that allow one to modify them, and with more access where the art relates, such as photographs and maps and things like that, relate to what it is that you are trying to emulate. Pictures of muscle cars, things like that, as well as the fact that it's a lot more. It is easy to embrace when you're thinking of a modern context. And so, I mean, does this revolutionize Call of Cthulhu? Not necessarily. No. But, oftentimes when it comes to those individuals that, like Polaroids and things like that are you could just imagine, old muscle cars and people driving in the cars, lonely cities and whatnot, and Abattoir, Texas. So I'm not going to give away too many too many secrets about this particular adventure. Also, the idea that you could play this multiple times in multiple ways for your group is also incorporated in it. Like, for example, this is a D100 table of things you could find and encounters along the way and whatnot. So, like number 82, a musty old chair and ottoman sits in the corner of the living room. They are choked with dust and mildew, but are otherwise in fair condition. The top of the ottoman comes off to reveal a blanket and an empty hot water bottle. And these may be things you find in like, or things you may encounter in this lonely, dusty town and whatnot. And of course, there's a timeline and background for the adventure and the NPCs and whatnot. And it even comes with handouts if you get to go through drive through RPG. And mind you, in the in the doobly-doo, there's some things like that. There's even rules for car chase, because of course, if you're in a muscle car, you have to have a car chase. But yeah, pretty fun. Maps and handouts, things like that. Now, the other thing that we wanted to really embrace in terms of Call of Cthulhu and sanity and things of that nature, of course, is this is an era with 1970s was known for its drug use and whatnot. 1970s was known for counterculture and the Vietnam War and that kind of thing. And so that wanted to embrace that. So this is, and let's see if we could find, last stop, bar and beds. You made it, partner. Pretty hilarious. There's even a menu. You stop somewhere to get some, try to get some breakfast, lunch, or dinner. There's even a menu with some things crossed out and whatnot. Burger and fries, $1.55. I wonder how accurate that is for 1970. I think it's pretty accurate. And then muscle car stats and handouts. Kind of funny. If the players steal a vehicle, there's other rules for that too. Pickup trucks and things like that. And then, of course, the interior maps. Don't really see this too much, although many Call of Cthulhu releases do have handouts, and those, though, I mean, this goes back into the early 90s, maybe even before that, for tabletop role-playing games and even Dungeons and Dragons used to have a lot of handouts. A bunch of NPCs and portraits of them. All right. Let's see. Oh, there goes my camera. All right, let's instead. Let's share this out. Oh, maybe I need to turn this on. Chrome tab. Which one? Highway of Blood. There we go. Yeah, this is going to look a lot better on the screen than my camera. Come on. Yeah, it's just not working. All right, let's move this to this stage. Much better. There we go. All right. There's a cover of Highway of Blood. And it's difficult to get these. I mean, I guess it looks all right if you do it like this. It's hard to see the detail on it when you get it down to like this level. But yeah. Now, for those who don't know, there is a way to make your own adventures for Call of Cthulhu. It's called the Miskatonic Repository, and it is. You can even see it's funny because even the dot matrix of the layout here, a little bit of blood there, dusty and dirty. to the bottom right of the cover of it, a Call of Cthulhu Miskatonic repository, and the repository is the rules that allow you to make up materials for Call of Cthulhu and have them published and listed under an umbrella. So even if you try to look for Call of Cthulhu adventures, you may want to not instead, but in relation to looking for adventure and materials, to look for the Miskatonic repository and such. So yeah, this is one of them. Kind of fun, but we don't have to stay in the 1970s. How about we move over to the 1980s, and we're going to move over to something known as the pipeline. And ooh, share this tab instead. Are you guys familiar with the movie The Thing? Then you're going to really love the pipeline. Now, the pipeline again is a decade era style cinematic adventure for Call of Cthulhu, and it's really embraces the idea of if you're thinking of the tonality and the era, you really want to think of the movie The Thing. So for those of you that are not familiar, in the 80s there was a movie where a group of people went to like the Arctic Circle, maybe it was Antarctica, I think it was the Arctic Circle, and engaged themselves with a Lovecraftian horror because they were isolated so much from society. And this is the same thing. This scenario is designed around a bunch of characters that have various reasons for being put together on a small plane, flying out to the pipeline, a corporate pipeline where an incident happens. They're cut off with communication in the distant Arctic North, and you as characters are sent to investigate what happened. Now, yes, is this a more traditional Lovecraftian investigation scenario? Yeah, absolutely. But it also brings to light many of the aspects of the 1980 film The Thing. So if you remember that movie, or at least you have some tangential relationship to that movie, you're going to really love the pipeline. And yes, you can make NPCs and characters that have their own agendas. This also was spawned by a series that I'm going to show you in a minute, the cinematic Environs, about using the environment as a horror element. And I think oftentimes we because of tabletop role-playing rules, that many people don't use the environment, even though the environment itself, the literal location that many of these things take place in, can be the thing that motivates the characters to move forward. So in other words, in the pipeline, if your plane goes down, and rest assured it probably will, you're going to have to figure out how to, trek across a frozen landscape with blizzards and survival and whatnot. And even if you think there's something out there, which may not be, but there's shadows in the dark and whatnot, coming upon where the barracks where the pipeline is to be serviced, and the individuals that were sent up there for their 3-month, 6-month stint, and trying to figure out why communication why there's no communication with the staff and scientists and engineers and the corporate interests that are up there as well. Yeah, all of that combined together, and really, really kind of cool. Yeah, of course it's in an icy location. Oh, hells yes. Hell yeah. And there's even included with it handouts. There's a time scale to it, and it goes into further detail about like whether there's a storm coming in, and in this adventure are there other elements involved in it. And yes, as we get down here, Yeah, on the cover. Yeah, my name's down here on the cover. Also rated R for intense violence, gore, intense horror, and graphic body horror. Of course. Um, yes, it is It is within the Miskatonic repository, and it is no mistake that the font and the way it's laid out, that it makes it look like a movie poster, just like the other, the previous 1970s release. Yeah, it's done on purpose. And instead of trying to avoid the relate like the avoid the tropes, we really wanted to embrace those tropes. Is it possible there's one or more NPCs that are more loyal to their corporate interests than saving human lives? Maybe. Are there turncoats or spies, or uh, uh, a, some kind of element within? Maybe even people being driven insane. Are there people that were lost out in the frozen wilderness that know some information, but maybe were left out there or exiled or something? Who knows? Maybe. Gotta have all that. Gotta have all that. And there's plenty of handouts and whatnot. And of course, with all these releases, there's warnings and such as well. Drew says, of course I've seen the thing, and everybody who has not really should ask themselves, what are they even doing with their life? Yeah. Including the very last scene that has been analyzed. Wow, for how many years now? The last scene of the last scene of the thing, meaning, for those who don't know, there's a questionable ending to the movie that has been that's really fun. Yeah, because there's one. Oh, I forgot to say that we're specifically dealing with the 1980s version. Even on the cover here, it just mentions like a 1980s scenario for Call of Cthulhu. This is the John Carpenter one. There's been a movie before that, for those who don't know. For people who are upset with remakes, many movies that we consider to be classics now were actually remakes of other flicks. So this was the original design for the cover, and then Alex was like, why don't we just make them look like movie posters? And I was like, you're hell right. Yeah, the old version is neat too, but John Carpenter made something special out of it. Hell yeah. Hells yeah. The original was 1951, and my dad said that old one was scary despite being black and white and already having relatively primitive special effects. Not all 50s movies were tame. I definitely agree with that. Yeah. Chase says, never thought of The Thing as a Lovecraftian horror, though. Just a more plausible alien that's nothing like anything from this world. Did The Thing turn everybody who saw it insane? Maybe, but it was a moment in time where The Thing, and I would even include like the Predator and the Xenomorph from Alien, to be people who wanted to think outside the box in terms of horror. Because at the time, horror was either humanoid, like human beings, slashers, killers, maybe giving them a little bit of an arcane indestructibility to them, or it was completely arcane spirits, ghosts, werewolves, vampires, more classical ones. I think The Thing and the Xenomorph and the Predator was a much more modern take on the same thing. But yeah, and it was very much paranoia. Alex really was the project manager on this one, and he really wanted to reinforce the paranoia of the pipeline, of the adventure, and the idea that maybe we don't know who to trust up here in the Arctic. What happened? Because even after the players find out what happens, it does go into a little bit more of more detail about. It does go into a lot more detail about, like, can we find out what happened? Not only can we find out what happened, but who's to blame? Are there any members of us that should not make contact back with society and whatnot? Yeah, there's a lot of that. So let me actually put this back, put the cover back up here, and see if we can. It's hard to. It's a little hard to see it. Yeah, it's really hard to see it as the movie poster, where you're showing the PDF and getting the actual. It's really difficult to see it that way. So the pipeline. Again, there are handouts. It's these are printed on Drive-Thru RPG, and one of the impetuses of this being designed was a product or products that I'm going to show you. This is for Call of Cthulhu, for the cinematic Environs books that I worked with when I pitched the idea to Critical Hit Publishing before I knew them, and how that came about. But yeah, this was the beginning, and they're like, for example, right here I'm showing you as paging through the physical book. A little difficult to see this, but there's a timeline here, September 1986 into October 86, and it gives a timeline of all the events that lead up to the players arriving. And there's like one section of this to the left of the book is uncommon weather, and then it gets into bizarre weather events and what's truly behind the incidences that happened back in 1986. To me, anything humanoid is familiar and thus not Lovecraftian. I can understand it. I think for me, I can get a little bit closer to that, especially if there's like a lot of body horror and such. Drew says Predator is still my favorite slasher film. Wow. I made a superb final girl. Yeah, there's plenty of horror tropes, archetypes, I guess we could call them. It's hard. I'm mixing and matching terminology, and I really shouldn't be doing that. But yeah, Final Girl. I think there's definitely a movie called Final Girl. Yeah, to get autistically nerdy about it, the Predator and the Xenomorph were both humanoid, bipedal, had arms, legs, and a head. The thing was a shape-shifting blob of something totally out of this world. For the Thing, I still love the scene when they were like, get the paddles, and he gets the paddles and wants to like do the whole taking the paddles and putting it around the heart, and the chest pops open, and the guy puts his hands down into the mouth of the thing, and he gets his arm. Oh my god, I love it. He says, "Oh, deep ones were humanoid. Never mind." Yep, and ghouls, and yeah, they really were. He's so bad. No, there is a final girl. The final girl trope is so intrinsic in horror that it became called the final girl, even if it's a guy that survives at the end. Yeah, and there's some handouts here. Call of Cthulhu really doesn't have very intrinsic rules for survival, so each of these releases has some rules to it in terms of using survival methods in your game. Mind you, by the way, many of these are handouts. There are, is there a little bit of, yeah, Drew says both. Yep. Yeah. It's like a cyclical thing. So many horror slasher movies have a final girl that survives at the end, which became a thing, which, many horror writers and directors started embracing, which in a way they didn't have to, because it became the thing known as the thing. You call it the thing. Anyway, the pipeline, 1980s Call of Cthulhu. But if I may, if you will allow me to do this, in a way, I'm kind of going backwards, but that's okay. Call of Cthulhu deals with horror, and talking about the horror genre meant that in our discussions with our we would do project management meetings. Basically, we'd all get together and do like a Zoom call and talk about things we like to see or work on, and parcel out our time, or who would like to write something or what have you, or who has a great idea. And I did a series for Fantasy D20 Dungeons and Dragons, basically 5th edition, 5th edition, etc. And it was called the Cinematic Environs. And I always felt like within Fantasy D20 and other role-playing games in our community that the environment really wasn't embraced. And so that's where a lot of these came about. The desert for Highway of Blood, and the pipeline for the Arctic region, and it just led itself. One thing led to another, and I always, you guys know, always talk about television and movies and how it came together. Yeah, Predator was also progressive in that the first one to die was not the black guy, which became its own trope, right? Just like the final girl, which, matter of fact, I'm gonna look it up. Let's see, that's a movie, 2015 Final Girl movie, but Final Girl board game. Wikipedia, it refers to the last girl or girls or woman alive to confront the killer, ostensibly the one left to tell the story. Yeah, of course. Final Girl Kickstarter, TV tropes. There it is. Hopefully it won't be too many pop-ups. The simplest definition of this is the last character left alive to confront the killer in a slasher movie. The character in question tends to follow a certain set of characteristics. The most obvious one is being almost always female. Men are the expendable gender, after all. And this is from TV tropes. Especially in older works, she'll also almost certainly be a virgin, remain fully clothed, avoid sex because sex signals death. Yep, that's an old thing from the slasher movies. And probably won't drink alcohol, smoke tobacco, or take drugs either. Finally, she'll probably turn out to be more intelligent and resourceful than the other victims, occasionally even evolving into a type of action girl by the movie's end. Looking at the sorting algorithm of mortality, you could say that the final girl is a combination of the hero, the cutie, and the damsel in distress, which obviously gives her a very low deadness score. The final girl is usually, but not always, brunette, often in contrast to a promiscuous blonde who traditionally gets killed off. And this is definitely curbed from tvtropes.org, and which is why it's very trope-ish, right? Because that's what the tvtropes.org website is about. Yeah. So kind of fun, kind of cool. So let's go from here into the cinematic environs. Drew says, I think what makes Predator also stand out, that most slasher film have a bunch of weaklings as the victims, but Predator goes right for highly experienced commandos. You know what? That I gotta admit, you are very correct about that, because one of the standout elements of Predator is that it really starts out with, like, these are badasses, and in a weird way, half the movie is adventure action, because it starts, the first half is adventure action, a bunch of badasses all making, like, horribly misogynistic jokes, and he's all testosterone filled and whatnot, and then one by one, bang, 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 they get killed off one after another. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And then the second half of the movie, and I don't actually know what minute mark it is. It's Arnie trying to survive because all the big badass things that they were using don't work. So in order to be progressive, we need a promiscuous final girl who smokes and drinks, is occasionally not a square. Yep. To be honest with you, even that trope has been replaced with other tropes, right? Like there are other, I don't know what would you call them. There are other trope-like things that have been broken so that we don't see those as much anymore, but it still goes into it. Here we have cinematic environs. And these cinematic environs are specific. I'm about to say Pacific. These are specific to, specific to Call of Cthulhu. So originally, the cinematic environs were designed to be used for fantasy. And with Alex's permission, he said, well, why couldn't we just use them for Call of Cthulhu? And I was like, yeah, of course you can translate them. And there are a number of them. So this one is survival. We also have cinematic environs for the Arctic reaches. We have cinematic environs for mountains. And we have cinematic environs for the desert. And so on. So on and so forth. And because it's called Cthulhu, we wanted to really incorporate a much more modern concept to it. Yes, this is the same font, the same titles, but the covers are different and incorporate certain things. So Survival, Call of Cthulhu edition, and the release of the cinematic environs is actually what helped me become a freelance writer for other people, because they could see examples of what I've done and trying to embrace and yet think outside the box in terms of tabletop role playing. And that's how I became the I became the third pillarist of the tabletop role-playing community, a self-appointed third pillarist, with the other two pillars being social and combat, and just talk about the environmental things. As a matter of fact, that's how I was brought into N-World and helped design the Level Up Advanced 5th Edition, completely rewritten from the ground up version of their version of Fantasy D20 Dungeons and Dragons. So yeah. Now Survival here, mind you, again, here we go with the logo, Critical Hit Publishing and eyeballs sitting here balanced in blood, and to the left here the Call of Cthulhu Miskatonic Repository logo, and then warning, extreme character lethality. You know, when it comes to Cthulhu, lethality is not uncommon for players, but they might be taken aback by, and here are like the editing credits and writing and design and layout, things like that, back in 2020. And then of course the legalese. And this was written by literally taking real life. So by the way, blurb warning, because we even talk about that. Please note that while this book does contain some practical information that can help in real-life survival situations, it is impossible to include enough detail to use them safely. It is therefore highly recommended that the reader does more research before attempting any survival skills described herein. The writers and publishers of this book accept no responsibility if the reader does something stupid. In other words, do not try these things at home. And I say that, and this warning is here on the first page, because this book was written by taking actual real world survival techniques and designing a tabletop role-playing supplement around it. And there's the rule of three, and each chapter goes into what the rules of three mean. And if this isn't gaming rules of three, this is like real world rule of three. So there, in survival, there's a rule in survival called the rule of three. It says that in general, humans can only live for 3 minutes without air, 3 hours without shelter, 3 days without water, and 3 weeks without food, and 3 months without hope. And so each chapter, as we let's see, is it chapterized? No. So each chapter goes into how that information is disseminated. Survival basics, uh, gritty management, realistic management, and then a cinematic resource management. Some people aren't into like tracking resources, although for players of Call of Cthulhu, they're more likely than not to want to embrace those dark uh, and grittier bits and pieces. But who knows? Some people want to do a run and gun Call of Cthulhu, which is fine, perfectly fine. Here's an example of a type of layout. Again, using some, giving it a little bit of drama, some artwork, filtering it a little bit. Kind of looks, there's like scratches, looks like rain, maybe someone's sitting in the woods, a weather section, etc., etc., etc. I think it's 62 pages. We even go to Beasts of Burden, how to use those when it comes to survival, and the various elements, and a little bit of flavor text just to get you in the mood, and then we go into air and talk about. Let me see if it can zero in on it. 3 minutes. I don't know. Just come to think of it, do Lovecraftian horrors like the girls? I don't know. I don't think they make a differentiation. And I guess in the... I know it's a slight sarcasm, but there is a little bit of like... I don't remember too many Lovecraftian stories involving a lot of the ladies, but it could just be my exposure to many Lovecraftian style stories, because Lovecraft wasn't the only one that wrote stories back in that day, and even in a modern context, in movies I've seen a lot of those, but I don't know about like literarily. I don't know. The premise was always that they are so beyond this world they don't care or even acknowledge humanity. But a really hot movie star bait? Well, listen, they got to be covered with some kind of like slime or oil, wet t-shirt time. There was a lot of that back in the 70s and 80s and 90s and stuff too. Yeah, there was a lot of that. I think now you might, there's quite a bit of the buff dude taking his shirt off, so I can't say that isn't a trope either, right? Maybe as men, we don't make as much of a big deal, but yeah, there is that. Let's not forget, there's a bunch of hairless chested dudes that seem to be oiled up in a lot of those movies sometimes in the very beginning. But to be honest with you, in the beginnings of the horror genre, it was a common thing for the characters to be, if the characters were engaged in socially unacceptable behavior, they died first, which is why so many teenagers and young adults would always be in these isolated locations, and one by one they would get killed off because they were smoking, drinking, having unprotected sex, vandals, didn't care about paying attention to authority, etc., etc., etc. Also in this particular release for survival, I'm glad Alice could find many of these. There are lots of these little images about like surviving, like finding shelter or starting fires and things. Like here are different fire structures, like the TP fire and a log cabin fire, so that air can get down into it when you're burning wood. There's an in-ground fire hole. I've never made one of these, but an in-ground fire hole prevents the light from allows air to get into the fire without the light exposing where you're at. And then there's ignition methods. Never lit a fire with a flint and steel. I've done the fire plow. I've done the hand drill. I've done the bow drill version of starting a fire. I've never done the pump drill or flint and steel, but I've done these three of the others on the right hand side of this image here. Let's see. There's some cool imagery here. Oh, yeah. Shelters, different types of shelters, debris shelters and whatnot. These are kind of cool. Again, they were actually taken from real life survival methods and such, and then disseminated down into a tabletop role-playing game. Snow caving, snow shelter, a hunter's cabin. Then it goes on and on. Getting clean water. There's a solar sills. Then we even put in here. I never got water out of, but I have made a solar sill before, and also purifying water, fire still. I know this. You stack gravel and then sand or clay, and then you put the dirty water over top of it. If I'm not mistaken, I think you can also do layers of sand and charcoal with something known as cheesecloth. And then at the bottom, there's a filter. That's how the gravel is filtered, and the filtered water comes down into the container, and then you can boil it and get the steam off of it, and then you can collect the steam and whatnot. But yeah, it's kind of cool. But anyway, this is survival. We even talk about preserving foods. How do you preserve foods and whatnot? Mind you, this isn't an adventure. This is just like this is just a way to add to Call of Cthulhu and survival and whatnot. But wanted to show that off. Ever watch Tales of the Crypt? Hell yeah! Hell yeah! Yep. Total morality show for square parents. Yep, that was one bad boy dying horribly after another. Sure was. Yeah, if you were irresponsible young person, this is what's going to happen to you. Dude, yeah. Oh, I was with a group of people. I was a group called Pathfinder. My mom was always finding new and interesting things. So yeah, it was a bit of a backpacking survivalist kind of camping expedition when I was in my teens. Yeah. Start a fire with nothing techniques. Yeah, they taught us all that. It took forever. You had to keep listen, it was not an easy thing. It was not easy at all. Oh man, it was wild. Yeah. Testy Trekkie said I had to do the filter the water through an ad hoc filter as part of my Army Reserve training. Oh yeah. Well, first of all, thank you very much for popping in. And that's a real thing. That's whole survival thing about. Let me see if I can go back to it. About filtering the water. Yeah, that's. I mean, again, I'm not claiming that this tabletop role-playing supplement will help you survive. I'm just saying that these techniques were used so that you can emulate them in your tabletop role-playing experiences. But were they taken from real life? Yeah, it was. And like I said, we were using the rule of 3 for air, shelter, food, water, blah, 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 on and on and on. But yeah, this is pretty fun. Now, mind you, like I said, this was translated into Call of Cthulhu, and including even here at the very end, in the appendix, we have a D100 table of random events if you're traveling. and then another D100 table of events when you're at rest. So if you wanted to just throw these in, and mind you, like I said, this is more of a modern context. So Call of Cthulhu is more of a modern day game. When I say modern, 1910, 1930s, 1950s, up to present day. Automobiles, firearms, basically explosives. Like number 12 here. As you're traveling, you stumble upon a campsite that's only a few days old. There's a small 5-inch square wooden box that looks as if it were accidentally dropped and forgotten. It contains a vial of clear liquid. What the hell is that? You know, there's some questions about all these that we included in the back of this. So yeah. A poor local farmer camped for the night and offers to share a meal with you. It's clear that he doesn't have much, and he still has a few days' travel ahead of him. Feeding everyone will deplete most of his food. He also offers you a place to stay at his farm if you're going that way. He says his house is small, but the barn is dry. It's like, is this person really honest, or is there something else going on? Dun, dun, dun. So, yeah. And then get ourselves some imagery. And like I said, when it comes to layout and artwork and things like that, especially in a more modern context, you can use many free open domain free images and just modify them a little bit. It's hard for you to see on the screen, but there's some scratches here. Makes it look like it's like an old photograph maybe, or an old document or something. And many times when you have when it comes to layout design, if you have words that spread over to another page and it doesn't fill the page, what do you fill the page with? And so you may need to use like stock art, stock photography to fill in the gaps. And how do you lay it out? Like, would this have been better if this was laid out as a column with art on the side, or do you stick all the words at the top of the page and put something down at the bottom? And you know, how much dead space do you want to leave, and things like that. So you might consider it. Like, for example, this book is about survival. So we have a person here with a backpack standing here, maybe looking out, and to the left of this individual, there's some people would call this like open space or dead space, but it's there on purpose to show like the environment. You're traveling. This is an open expanse. It's bigger than the rest of us and whatnot. And so you want to consider that when it comes to picking different pieces of art. Sometimes it's very difficult to pick good art too, because, you know, sometimes artistic pieces are hard to emulate, right? Like, how do you find a picture of rain? It just looks like streaks, you know? Here's another one with a big, giant, dead space of like stars in the sky. And then below that, there's an encampment, and right in the back in encampment at the very bottom, there are some vehicles parked and whatnot. But, you know, that's the unimportant thing. It's a bunch of people camping, and the vastness of the sky and being in an open sky. And it just gives you the idea. When you see an open sky like that, where you could really see the stars, it does make you feel like you're away from society and civilization and whatnot. So anyway, that's for survival. But the cinematic environs has moved on to like mountains and desert and Arctic reaches and whatnot. And again, this is the Call of Cthulhu version of that. And yep, Call of Cthulhu edition right here. And you know, really trying to emphasize the horror version, the horror reality of what it would mean to have these adventures. And mind you, the whole point of this even existing is to remind everybody that yes, it's horrible to be attacked by a shark, but the real horror of being attacked by a shark is not just getting bitten, but you're in the ocean. In order to get bitten by a shark, you're in the ocean. So not only are you being torn limb from limb, but there's also drowning. And notably, if you're in the ocean deep enough to be attacked by a shark, you're away from civilization. So yeah, the drowning and the suffocation, the being torn from limb, knowing that there's very little things people could do for you to help you survive. all of that builds into the actual horror. Heck, a sinking ship and having to get on a lifeboat is horrible in itself, and that's not even some Lovecraftian horror. Yep, mountain horrors. So, and again, this is just an example of one of our cinematic environment releases. I mean, hypothermia, cold, wind, communication cut off, things like that, so on and so forth. Yeah. Here's another example of a layout, and I really like this one because this is about chasms, and the way the art direction he decided to go with this is, to the right are the words. I'm sorry, to the left is the column of words, and then to the right is the chasm itself, with a rock stuck right in the middle of the chasm about to fall. Hopefully your player character hasn't fallen down in the bottom of this, waiting for that boulder above you. Maybe a passerby or something wants to step on that boulder to see what happens. Maybe it might fall on your head. I don't know. But yeah. There's a layout that we used for the cinematic environs that I introduced, that includes like the pressure version, like what's the pressure that's involved in the environment you're in. There's also a category called if then. The category for if then means what it says. Like, if a condition happens, or the players do something, or a condition is met, then something else will happen, right? So the if then is like, you can try to escape, but this thing might happen. You may try to navigate, but this might happen. You may, hey, if you do this thing, then maybe you might get this great reward at the end of it. Sorry, guys. But this is just an example. This is from the Cinematic Environs book, Mountains for Call of Cthulhu. And like, under if then, there's unstable edge. Maybe you're standing on the side of a cliff face or something. There's updrafts. There's also a category called changes. So changes is basically like, okay, there's a big crevice. What's the big deal? You see one, you see them all. Not necessarily. You can add some changes into like what would be different about this huge chasm than any other. And there's things like rope bridges and evening the odds. In short, even the odds is basically rolled. You can take any die and roll it, and you want to even the odds. So if it comes up an even number, that means it's in. If there's a random thing, it's beneficial for you. And if it's odds, it means it works against you. It's basically a 50-50. Like, hey, rocks fall. The chasm opens up underneath your feet. Are you on the side you want to be on, the side you don't want to be on? Pick up a die and roll it, and then you want to even the odds. And then we have these funny named fumble crit tables. Back in the day, whenever you would fumble, that would be the worst roll you could make, and a crit was the highest roll you could make. And unfortunately, the word fumble kind of was synonymous with you fumbling something, even though today we kind of refer to it as crits, meaning like a critical benefit or critical disadvantage. And it's normally called a crit in general, but back in the day we used to call them fumbles and crits, and the same thing here. And so a fumble could be something that a player character does that works against them, and a crit could be something that you do against an enemy. And so not only do you do something, but this other event happens. For example, number 2, the victim just manages to grab a hold of someone or something before plummeting into the chasm, but ends up losing a personal or valuable item in the process. The keeper can give the player the option to save the item and allow themselves to fall. So it's like maybe there's a bad guy and you kick the bad guy in the chest because they've got an automatic weapon on them, and you can't let them get a shot off. So you kick them in the chest and they fall backwards, and maybe they drop the gun, or they grab their partner's backpack and they fall over the edge, or grab an important tool or something and they fall backwards or whatever. Same thing could happen to the player character, right? So, but anyway, and it goes on cliffs and everything about mountains or related to mountains, cliff face, rough facing, overhangs, etc., etc., etc. Oof. No, thank you. Ledges. It's kind of cool. All right, let's go to the next one and see what you guys have to say. Yeah, rocks fall, but only DBJ dies. Usually. When I go camping, there's always a bit of potassium. I'm gonna butcher the name. Permanganate, concentrated sugar syrup as a backup for the lighters. Never heard of that. Never heard of that. Although I've always been told to take to take dryer lint because it's really it can be lit on fire very easily. So funny. You got to. Sorry, just read your comments here. Yeah, I never knew that. Okay. Cinematic Environs book. Got it. You know, yet another one. Which one is this one? Oh, almost done. Cinematic Environs book. Yes, there is one here. This one's for the Arctic lands, called Cthulhu edition. And again, it's the same thing about everything from frostbite to, man, just the whole thing. Introduction to it. Looks like a photograph from space. The rule of 3. Isn't that, look at that, snow plane or air what is it? I forget what they're damn the planes that land in lakes and rivers and oceans. Maybe preferably lakes and rivers, but yeah, Arctic horror, and just, you know, talking about Arctic horror, talking about John Carpenter's 80s classic The Thing and everything related to it. Yeah. Bone-chilling scenario ideas. Gotta have a ton of those. Some dead carcasses, frozen carcasses. Ooh. Show you one more image here. Oops. There we go. Some classic individuals looking down in the snow, looking down into a crevice. There's even we even put a little blurb here for some flavor text. At the Mountains of Madness by H.P. Lovecraft. You gotta throw that in there. Come on. Oh man. I'm glad I could take such a thing and not give his estate any money. There's another one with the icy crevice. People with their walking sticks. I don't know what era this is, but uncertain. Yeah, be careful the icy crevice. You may not die from falling very far, because you may fall into snow, but you might get buried along the way. So yeah, horrible. I think that's a statue, by the way. Those aren't real horses. The appendix. I think this is 32 pages long. You talk about Arctic encounters. Got to have some Arctic encounters. Roll some percentile dice. Here's another one for Cinematic Environs for the desert, and this one's, of course, the Desert Waste Call of Cthulhu edition. Like I said, this week is about me. So this was translated from the fantasy version that was initially written. And again, Miskatonic repository, warning for lethality, and etc., etc., etc. Oops. What was it? RVs? Let's see. Oh, junkyard. Out in the desert. And then, of course, we have to have ourselves. We gotta have ourselves pyramids. And you gotta have that. So anyway, last one. I'm sorry. I thought it was the last one. Last one before the last one. Before we get out of here. The Grindhouse features. These are small. Oh, let me. Let's see if I can get this. Please show up. There we go. The Grindhouse. These are small booklet-sized, much more affordable. Yeah. Oh, so you're so funny. So funny there, Drew. I see it. The Grindhouse is again, talking about cinema and horror movies and slasher flicks and stuff. So the Grindhouse ones are small booklets of short 1 to 3 shots for Call of Cthulhu, and each cover looks like this, where it says the Grindhouse. This is volume 1. There's 4 volumes plus a Christmas special, but you'll notice that the title of the movies playing at the Grindhouse are all different. There's usually 1 to 3 features for the Grindhouse. So for those who remember going to double features back in I was born in 1970, so like between 80 and the 90s, they used to have these double features at the movie theater, and you could pay for 1 ticket and you'd see double feature because each movie was kind of short. But yeah. Is this Grindhouse? Is this Cthulhu for people who can't handle low combat? Well, it's a little bit more. It runs by the mantra that you don't need to be the fastest. You just need to run faster than everybody else. This is still called Cthulhu, right? This is still Miskatonic a repository feature. This still uses those ultra lethal rules of insanity and stuff, but it's a lot more. There's a lot more action in it. Let's just say that. In terms of like slasher, thriller, quicker. I guess it would be quicker to the action than your usual Call of Cthulhu adventures, and really embraces the idea of making characters that are not necessarily investigators. Now, yes, you could be like there are scenarios where you can play like podcasters or YouTubers, going into places you shouldn't and things like that. Yeah, it embraces quite a bit of that, but yeah, the Grindhouse, the idea of the Grindhouse is that fact. Like, you know what? Let's get to the action. Like, this one's called The Crimson King, and look, it's just a bunch of stairs going down in a basement, and of course there's a warning for blood, gore, and drug use. There are warnings for most of these, as a matter of fact. There's one, The Court of the Crimson King, 18th Street, Dusk Till Dawn. Maybe not first glance, second glance, maybe. Yeah. So Grindhouse won't instantly kill you. It's up there, right? What's a good example of a Grindhouse movie? From Dusk Till Dawn is a good Grindhouse movie. Like traveling along a lonely highway, and then you go into a bar, and you come to find out that all the doors get locked and the bar is filled with vampires and whatnot, and all you're trying to do is survive. It's like that, where in the sense of your characters are going to be pretty fragile. So yeah, Isle of the Damned, body horror, needles, and dismemberment is involved in this. So right up front, we're letting you know that pretty horrible. And like I said, there's there's 5 books that have come out. 4 in the volume, and then there's a Christmas special. You got to have a Christmas special, right? So yeah, that's Grindhouse. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for letting me show this off. Again, these are releases from Critical Hit Publishing, and with my name input as a credit for a collaborator and or writer for many of these scenarios and whatnot. So yeah, definitely check these out if you are a Call of Cthulhu person. And like I said, I'm not very good at self-promotion. For example, Highway of Blood is a 2019 release. It's 5 years old now. Let's see. Drug use, disturbing sadistic violence, implied rape, torture, cannibalism, body horror, violence against children. Yeah. Warning right up front for Highway of Blood. Unfortunately, are there some inbreds, small town inbreds that want to take advantage of you in like Highway of Blood? Yeah. That's hilarious. From dusk till dawn, ridiculously nerfed down the vampire. So far, I would consider it bigotry. Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, I'm not saying that's exactly what like these adventures are, but close to it, right? There's tension building, like what the hell's going on? Why are we stuck out here? Kind of thing, and then it goes. Do you get further into the? Wow, look at the light on this. The PDF and the book look like it's 2 different colors. Wow, that's kind of cool. It looks almost orange, but that's just because of my lighting. I think my lighting has too much yellow in it, so it makes it come out a little bit orange. But yeah. Racist against vampires. Our most human of friends amongst the dead. That's funny. I love it. But yeah, Highway of Blood is one that I'm particularly proud of. But yeah, there's Highway of Blood. There's the Grindhouse one. There's the Pipeline. There's some other releases. Carnival of Madness. I didn't even go through that one. Although to be honest with you, I am not credited in Carnival of Madness. But this is another 1970s scenario for Call of Cthulhu. There's many of them that I've helped collaborate with for Call of Cthulhu. Now, I promised a couple things to do this, so I'm going to do these 2 at the end here. When it comes to behind the scenes. So for people who are designing things for, let's say, publication, like Drive-Thru RPG, I'm going to give you a little bit of a hint here if you do something and you want to do something. The orange tone is fitting for the Halloween season. Yeah, I think so. But let me give you some advice if you're going to become a publisher or any kind of publisher, especially with tabletop role-playing games, but anything else. If you are trying to do this to make money, I'm basically a person who just loves a hobby. I already have a full-time job, and it takes up a huge chunk of my personal life, so it's a little bit difficult to make this my career. But if you're someone who really wants to earn a bit of money, if I can make you a suggestion, in the beginning, do not produce a high page count, thick ass tome of a release because you want to. You think you're, I don't know, your fantasy Dungeons and Dragons world is going to be the best thing in the world. Initially, don't do that. Don't do that. What you want to do is create something that's evergreen. And I know you guys have heard this before. Sorry, I'm trying to get my camera to focus back in again. Evergreen is the idea that if you produce something today, next week, next month, next year, the next 10 years, it still retains its value. And that term evergreen, in terms of tabletop role playing, is that let's say you make an account on DriveThruRPG and you want whatever you sell to I hear you there. You want the stuff to sell so that you are always, dare I say, having passive income. Okay? So passive income is the way to go. In other words, you produce a product and then people can partake of that product at any time while you're going on with the rest of your life. So how that works is that if you keep producing something relatively affordable, easy to get into, and a person can return back to it over and over again, it becomes evergreen. And yeah, and it's hugely difficult to trim things down to a digestible amount. It is very difficult to do that. And one of the no, that's not going to work. This is much better. So one of the reasons to do that is because, first of all, you want something that is easily digestible to get people who are new to you. So like individuals who make commercials or write short stories or something very easy, TikTok videos, people, short videos, which I don't do for my channel, is make something small, something someone can get into your whatever you've created very easily, and then through their desire to want to know what you do, that's more of what you do, you can then show off your bigger and bigger 600-page tome of a fantasy world that you've created, right? Try to make something that's evergreen. You can also cheat in a way. You can also it didn't come back. You can also cheat a little bit and try to do something that's very, what we in the tabletop community consider sexy, usually player focused things rather than GM, storyteller, narrator focused things. Monsters, player options are usually your top two, but I would also say create something that's value added, that makes it feel like someone is getting something of value. It's more valuable than the price they pay to get it. I'm going to have to take a look at that, Drew. Basically, they'll have to go the path for Leto 2 to follow. You're so funny. I'm with you there. I'm with you there, Hunt. Yeah. After a podcast from Damian Walter yesterday, I found myself falling down the rabbit hole of looking into spiral dynamics. What is that? Is that a real thing? Model of evolutionary development of individuals, organizations, and societies. It was initially developed by Don Edward Beck and Christopher Cohen, based on the emergent cyclical theory combined with memetics. Huh. Individual, group, interior, exterior. Huh. I like it. Oh, shit. Holistic, systemic, communitarian, achievist, authoritarian, dominant, animalistic, instinctive. Huh. First you had my interest, now you have my attention. 8 different views of life. I'm liking this. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. I learn something every day. All right. Highway of Blood. You guys get it. We're going to talk about this more often. Also, if you design something with somebody else, understand that it's, you know what, we'll talk about this. We'll talk about like best practices for working with other people, and how do you distribute money? How is it divided up? You should get a percentage of and divide up your value and what you get based on the work that you've done. So not only should you get paid for what you've done, you shouldn't get paid for what you haven't done. So if you're someone that does layout, does art, does editing, writes, whatever, when it comes to like literary tabletop role-playing games, understand that each of those is a separate endeavor, and you should be compensated proportionally for it. So I don't do layout, I don't do the art, and I'm not a very good editor. So if you're someone that does those other features and I don't, then this wouldn't necessarily be written as a 50-50, right? Yeah, how to divvy up expenses. Well, not only that, now I'm going to let you know, I basically haven't put out any money for anything that I've been collaborated with or helped design or anything like that. None of any, the things that I've shown you, I haven't had to put out any money for it. Drew, look at Drew. Drew, if you are rubbing your hands together with a one of those if you're rubbing your hands together with your head slightly down, with a Joker like evil grin, Grinch grin, where like the smile goes all the way up to scrunching up your eyes, and like you're looking down so far, and like where your eyelids are like piercing down together, and you're doing one of those like deep chesty laughs, then I'm mad at you. Because I went down this rabbit hole here. Yeah, I've got my spiral dynamics tab over here, and I'm gonna look this up. I'm looking it up. I like it. I like this stuff. I love these thought exercises. Let's see if I can even go here. Ooh, we can't even see that. Center for Ethical Leadership, Spiral Dynamics Flower Model. Look at that. Personal intentions and development, individual traits and behavior, culture, family and relationships, social systems and institutions. And you'd have to really zoom in on this. Oh, I can't zoom in even further. Damn it. Oh man. And I bet it goes, there's community and it spreads out. Ooh, there's a lot of detail in that. I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah. Yes, in the electronic online world, you can generate a whole lot of material at no expense to you. The divvying up expenses part only applies to meat space-based products. Yeah, yeah. Well, and there's other things when it comes to like monies and things like that. Yeah, you could get it if you're not open and upfront with things. It can get a little bit. It can be uncomfortable, let's say, and you know what? No, I'll do it tomorrow because I've pulled you along too far and I gotta go. I'll show you part of my drive-through RPG, like values, like how I've earned money and how it is divvied up. I don't make a significantly large portion of money, maybe between $150 to $400 a month, which is really good for some people. You can't live on it, but it depends on the attention given to it. Like I said, some people find products, and then what they'll do is they'll go backwards and get like the PDFs and things like that. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. I'm going to let you guys know that, like, it's basically BTS behind the scenes things. So, but anyway, guys, I'm not going to hold you too much longer. Thank you very much for being part of the show. Shai says, in bands, for example, it's all divvying up expenses. Who pays for the PA is where it all starts. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, you're talking about bands. Yeah. I'm pretty sure, like, when it comes to, like, I bet that's how a lot of bands break up. It's like, how much money are we dishing out versus how much money are we taking in? And then you get the horror of, like, I own the name of the band. Well, I wrote the songs. Well, yeah. How common of a thing is that, right? Where, it's crazy. Let's see if I can actually get this to, yeah, it's not. I need a new camera because I can't control my autofocus. Holy, if you make 3 figures a month from RPG sales, no joke, that is way better profit than almost any creative I know in real life. Really? Okay. I have to. Let me close up some of these. Let's see. The drive-through. Now, there's not much money in my account because I basically turn it right back into. I essentially turn it right back into publisher tools. I turn it right back into what I do online. So yeah, let's see, my titles. That's not what I want. I want to go to my account. This is behind the scenes drive-through RPG. Can you guys even see this? It's a little difficult to see. Anyway. Yeah, as ADHD cannot focus. Yeah. Oh man. But let's see if we can go into. So okay, this is what the page looks like if you have an account on Drive-Thru RPG, and there's like notifications. I got a bunch of notifications from people that I follow and whatnot. But down here, $8.37 US in my account, and you can go into the account to see like what you have on your wish list. You have things checked off, all that kind of stuff. Addresses, payment accounts, things like that. But we're going to move down. Titles and libraries. We're going to move down, and we're going to get to the royalty report. Right at the bottom here is the more detailed things. And under the royalty report, it allows you to find out like how many books were purchased, what time periods, and you can include like free and at cost purchases and units sold and whatnot. And you can get a range of dates. So we're going to do January 1st of this year until October 14th, and we're going to run the report. And depending on how much you've produced, it will put them out there, right? And here we go. This is just mostly from Cthulhu and Chaosium. And so right here it has units sold. That's because of what I was doing today. Units sold. You know what? Let me do it. Let's see. Can I do a lifetime? Let's see. October. I wonder how far back I can go. Let's go back to 2020. October 2020. Let's see if it'll do that. Oh, shit. Seriously? Mm-mm. There we go. So this is a royalty report, and it shows off like the publisher, whether it's Chaosium, Critical Hit Publishing. When you produce things for Call of Cthulhu through Chaosium, it actually goes through them, and this is like how many units were sold. So like the Arctic Lands for Call of Cthulhu, 295 were sold since 2020, October 1st till now. The net amount of money, like the pipeline, 702 of these were sold for a total of just a little bit over $5,000. And then there's a royalty rate, and my rate for this, you'll see it's usually low, like between 20%, 15%, 18%, maybe less than, because Drive-Thru RPG takes a percentage of that. Also, Alex gets paid for the layout, so he gets that percentage. Rob and another guy named Ian Christensen, they both are editors and writers, so they get their percentage for that. And then there's the artistic direction, so the art and the all that kind. So yeah, you don't take you'll never get 100% of your sales ever. That's just not a thing. Then we get into like the Critical Hit Publishing thing for Dungeons and Dragons, basically. And there's individual ones. There's my Cinematic Environs books are still down here. There's my Aquatic Depths book, Blasted Lands book down here, and such. So yeah, survival book, whatnot. So maybe I overestimated. Maybe it's more like 50 to 200, maybe something like that. I don't check it as often as you would think I would, because I'm not a numbers. I don't like the clock watch, but essentially that's what it is. So yeah, that's what a royalty report looks like. And you can go in and redo your royalty rates. Although they will, Drive-Thru RPG will tell you what the royalty rates are. Whether it's like 20% or 18% or 37% and whatnot. In addition to the fact that all print-on-demand books have a bottom level cost that comes off the top before the royalties are divided up in the first place. So there's that as well. It's actually my day off, but it is holiday today. It is both. Let's see. It is Columbus Day and Indigenous Peoples Day today here in the States. On the second Monday of October, Americans will be celebrating Indigenous Peoples Day, also known as Columbus Day. Indigenous Peoples Day recognizes the contributions and legacy of those who lived here long before Christopher Columbus erroneously claimed to have discovered America, which is, I find it funny that people find that offensive. Like, Christopher Columbus didn't discover anything because there were people already here. And people also forget that Indigenous people here are American citizens. Like, it's weird how people think that way. Like, I don't understand why. I'm like, because they were here first, and Christopher Columbus helped, I don't know what it's called. Helped with the genocide. So yeah. People are strange. For what it's worth, almost everybody I know either pays to do a hobby or is reliant on donations to break even. I have had a blessed life in the creative sphere. So mind you, it does cost me to do this. Like, I have when I stream live, I stream through something known as Restream, and I pay for that. So I don't do it for free. Like, YouTube does have I could YouTube straight through YouTube and do it for free, but it doesn't give me the bells and whistles like, I don't know, intros and music and sharing screens and all that kind of thing. Yeah, we're all from the same place. To be honest with you, go back far enough, right? Yeah. That's funny. Those are fun. No, it's my day off. Yeah, it's day off. But yeah, it's because of a holiday. Actually, my day off is Wednesday. My day off revolves through the week. So this week it's technically Wednesday, and the next week it'll be Sunday and Thursday, and the week after that it'll be Sunday and then Friday and Saturday, and then the week after that I only get Sunday off, and then it revolves back again. Sunday, Monday, Sunday, Tuesday, Sunday, Wednesday, Sunday, Thursday. It was the easiest way to make it fair for everyone when we work our schedule 5 days a week when we're delivering mail 6 days a week. It's wild, but it makes sense. So but yeah, this is just like I was saying, it's a royalty report. I just picked some rando thing to show it, and that's just an example. I guarantee you there are people who have tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars in their royalty report for Drive-Thru RPG, especially those that are at the very top. What ends up happening though is that over time, many of these start to drop off. So let me give an example here. All right, so right down at the very bottom here, we have for Critical Hit Publishing, Extraordinary Extras, Arcane Ancestry, and out of 381 that were acquired, I've only made $1.35, even with a 30% royalty rate, and that's because I think it's under pay what you want, but essentially it's free, right? So you're not going to see much on there. But if we go up to an adventure, an individual adventure, again, here's one that's very, very cheap, nearly free. 60 cents I made on it with the PDF. So, yeah. Yeah, but people who are into Call of Cthulhu, they are super fans. They're always looking for new adventures, and right up in here, despite the fact that making 10%, 20% off of the redistributed cinematic environs, still a large number of them sold. Even with the low royalty rate being low, I'm still making a lot in the royalties, or have made a lot in the royalties. Most recently, it's dropped off because I haven't been writing a lot, and new material hasn't been released, which is why adding to it, you're trying to make something that keeps adding to it, and that's where that comes from. So anyway, I just wanted to let you guys see something, part of that, a little background. Maybe we might go into it a lot more when it goes on. Yes, but making a couple $100 a month in pure profit puts you way ahead of the pack. Let's feel to be 1%er. Yeah. A 1%er. Oh, so funny. In many ways, it does make me feel good, and also makes me feel awkward. It's like winning the lottery kind of thing, because other than putting out time, I really haven't put out much money, right? Because really what it's costing me is just time. Do I sit down and write? Is it taking time away from like family and friends and having fun and things like that? Sure. But I mean, if you've got a notebook and you're sitting on the shitter, or you've got like a Google Doc open while you're doing those things, you're like, am I also doing something else here? Am I like pinching a loaf as well as writing? Yes. So do I do some of my best work there? Yeah, because I don't have much other time. So it does cost time. But I will say this, being able to collaborate with other people, and the worst answer you can get if you ask someone something is no, right? So when I sold my endeavor to Critical Hit Publishing, was like, hey guys, hey listen, I would really like to do this thing. Yeah, time and freedom to do those things. Yeah. So like I said, I would probably want to do this full time rather than when I retire, rather than put on the Walmart, Target Walmart vest or something. Yeah. The not being in jail kind of freedom. Hells yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to give some background information. Maybe tomorrow. Tomorrow, of course, going to talk about some other releases that I've had had the privilege of having my name attached to, and let's see, we can do this. Yeah, let's get down here. Oops. Having my name attached to, and also if you want to produce things, how can you do that for yourself as well? And we'll talk about that. Essentially, it worked out for me because I basically asked, and you can't be an asshole. Also, right? As a content creator, my content is my resume. So there's a term used in entertainment that says I've spent too many years being an overnight success. And in other words, while the public may see someone and they have gotten seen them as an overnight success, to be honest, those people were grinding for many, many years in the background before they got to your attention. And it's because they were creating their resume one step at a time, day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. And so when I see people getting online and social media and such, and blasting people and I don't know, getting into petty dramas, that will reflect on you when you attempt to collaborate with other people and you want to talk to them, because your resume is your footprint in social media. And me being of a certain age where we didn't have social media makes me very comfortable not being on social media and thinking twice, 3 times, 5 times before attempting to post anything, keeping my mouth shut about certain subjects and subject matter. Yeah, Shice is grinding in the background. Yep, slicing through swarms of jobber monsters for untold months and years. Most overnight successes have had years toiling in the background, rather. Backup singers and grips and just doing all the grungy, dirty work in the background. I don't care what entertainment, artistic endeavors you were doing, you're in the background. It's very rare someone leaves their house, goes, I'd like to do something artistic, and then they're a few days or weeks or months later, they're an overnight success. That almost never happens. Usually what happens is they've been toiling in the background, and a series of events happens that launches them into the spotlight. And it can be a little bit of jealousy, right? Because you're like, damn it, I've been here for 15 years. They did it in 7 months. There's a bit of that, when it comes to dancers and singers and hell, architects, and I'm trying to think of other artistic chefs and whatever, graffiti artists. I don't care what it is, right? All those things, yeah. Dude says, dude, I'm a certain age too. I love it that we can do free publicity too. But seriously, man, you gotta up your game on social media just so people will know it even exists when it comes out. I am totally with you. It's like I said, it's hard for me to sell myself, so I'm going to try to break that mold. Because, like I said, like this book, Highway of Blood, that's in Blurred, came out in 2019. Dude, that's 5 years ago. It's almost 6 years since it was released. I haven't talked really about it, and I really should have. Right here's the credits for the PDF credits. My name is sitting right here, and I should have been promoting it a lot, talking about it a lot. So, yeah. And this is just one release. This is for Call of Cthulhu. I'm not even talking about my Dungeons and Dragons stuff, my D20 fantasy stuff, which we're going to go through the rest of this week. But yeah. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. Thank you guys for even sticking around this long. Like I said, I don't normally go this long, and it really goes against the algorithms to do this kind of thing. But I really appreciate your attention, your 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 time is very valuable, and I appreciate you taking your valuable time to spend it with me. So, to get out of here, I am not going to do my normal uh, exit exit promo thing about call to action. Instead, what we're going to do is let's see if I can call this up here. Oh, will it let me do it? Damn it! It won't let me. Oh no! No, no, no. Okay, let's see if it lets me. Oh, it's not letting me do it. I can't copy the. It won't let me copy the YouTube link for your video. Oh, damn it! Oh no! And I don't even know if I'll be able to. I can't copy and paste it. And it let you post it, but I can't reach it. It highlights it, but I can't reach it. Okay, let's see if I can do it this way. Nope, nope. I can't grab it that way either. Wow. Okay, let me go to YouTube. Let's see. Let's go over to YouTube. I know I'm live. I am not going to share. Okay. I know I am live. I apologize for the sound. If this. There we go. And then let's go back up here. And let's see if we can. No, I don't want to. I don't want to remove anything. I'm not trying to do that. There we go. Yeah, now we're gonna. Yeah, now we're gonna share that out. Thank you so much, guy, man. Guys, have a great one. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Yeah, it was awesome. No problem. No problem at all. At all. I really appreciate you to be here, dude. Man, it's been a dozen years or more, man. It's crazy. It's crazy how long it's been. Yeah. So yeah, we're off in our own corner, man. So I really appreciate that. Anyway, we're gonna take us out here. Guys, have a great one. I'll see you later. Please, 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 please go to the channel. Go to the channel. Wait, I can't get it out of here. Hold on. Copy. There we go. Paste. There we go. That's more like it. There it goes. Yeah, and I gotta put the link. I gotta put your link down in below in the video since I used it up here. Yeah, don't let me get away with that. Yeah, man, that's so wild. Oh yeah, wow, that's crazy. Oh, there it is. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, it's called a helicopter, right? I know. I know. Hey, listen. Listen, they were talking over here in this country, talking about um 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 uh yeah. Over here we're talking about weather control and the government controlling the weather and people believing it and all, and death threats to meteorologists because of hurricanes and stuff like that. Yeah, it's wild, dude. It's wild. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for being. I gotta go. Nope, 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 nope. Let's pause you right here. So, guys, thank you very much for letting me do that for you there, Shy Squad. I really appreciate that, as well as the fact that you guys have been sticking around. So you're going too long here, guys. Have a great one. We'll talk, and we'll do this tomorrow and the rest of the week, right? We'll just have some fun. You guys know how it is. Seat of the pants. Love you guys. Thanks for coming. It was a great show. See you on Monday. Part 2, The Revenge. Part 2. You know, love the movies. Yeah. Part 2, Monday, The Revenge. Happens on Tuesday. Oh, man. Guys, have a great one. I'll see you later. Peace and tranquility.